You scare me, son.
Do I?
Indeed you do. I know I'm meant to be the ogre here, the scary monster, dragging the meek and innocent to the death. But I don't mind saying that you frighten me.
Crows in the Wires, I think, is a very important, a very forceful conversation, and it's done in a safe place because it's done dramatically. It is actually a piece of writing done by Jonathan Burgess, which actually rehearses, regurgitates those conversations around that very big change.
Part of the idea is about dealing with now the legacy of the conflict.
I think you can only deal with that in a credible way if you actually stand over the politics that you had.
And I guess you have to be in the context of where that person's grown up or what that person has experienced before you can really say that was a good decision or that was a bad decision. Ultimately, you have to live with the consequences of your decision.
So I tried to get to speak to people who wanted to talk to me about that, and I found it very closed until 2003 when I fell in with a former RUC officer who came out under Patton, who started talking to me, and he opened up a world and gave me access to a lot of people that I wouldn't have had access to normally, and created a level of trust for me within those people that I spoke to, where they could open up and they could tell me their stories and know that they weren't going to be in any way misrepresented, know that they weren't going to be in any way identified, or there were going to be any ramifications for them.
It can be uncomfortable and challenging for all of us to have a story that is told from a vantage point of one that we don't necessarily hear about. In fact, I would harbour to suggest, other than in closed rooms perhaps such as these, that story hasn't really had that kind of public airing before in a dramatic setting on stage, and I think that is a wonderful gift and contribution in terms of developing what I would say we need in Northern Ireland more of.
The two men in that file murdered Tom. He was a friend of mine. And the killers walked away. And you know something? There wasn't a damn thing I could do about that, not one. Oh, there's enough in that file to convince you. But not enough to prosecute. And I've been holding on to that for ages. Don't assume that a handful of boys who put their time in helping out the paramilitaries speak for the rest of us, David. You need to get that out of your way of thinking.
If art can contribute anything to society, it is that it can create the context and the environment for discussion around some of these much more difficult stories. Why now? Why are we doing it now? As if we are revisiting something that happened a long time ago, and it's a historical artifact. So from 2009, Jonathan and I started having this discussion about this transition from the RUC to PSNI, and it's taken a few years to get the resources in place. There's been something else going on, which has been an exhalation by the community of lots and lots of stories, usually at a community level, where people are telling of their individual hurt and the trauma they felt. They feel, and they're bearing witness to that trauma. They're bearing a testimony to the fact that there is a change. And again, if this project, this Crows in the Wire project, which is about a very difficult story, can do anything, it helps create a firebreak from the past in the future.